Hello everyone, we are Group 7. The topic of today's tutorial is kinship, family, and community. We will discuss two questions today. First, what are the different forms of kinship in these articles? Second, what are the problems of being a community in relation to the nation state? Firstly, in geological research on the Lishu people in northern Thailand, a patrilineal tendency in kinship concepts can be observed. However, more importantly, these patrilineal arrangements and the marriage choice are greatly influenced by the means of livelihood and the resource conditions.
Yes, for example, during the period when the opium economy still existed, the distribution of land and labor was relatively open, allowing families to have greater room for adjustment in marriage and housing arrangements. With the regulation of opium cultivation by the state and the changes in economic structure, the livelihood and families have been adjusted, which directly affects the actual operation and of family organization and the kinship relationship. Therefore, in this case, kinship is not a fixed and unchanging system, but a particle system that consistently adjusts with economic and livelihood conditions.
Hank's Thai case is more special. People usually recognize both patrilineal and matrilineal kinship. That is a bilateral structure, but more importantly, social relationships are not based only on blood, but are deeply influenced by hierarchical old and moral evaluation systems.
The hierarchy of age and status is very clear in Thailand. High social is centered around merit and power rank. That's why there are so many effective kinship relationships here. People use family terms for elders and juniors, patrons and clients, teachers and students. This creates a top-down authority order, but these titles are not just extensions of family relationships. They are actually a way to show social rank and moral standing.
So, in other words, in Thai society, kinship language becomes a tool for expressing the social hierarchy order, which is closely related to age, status, and the concept of merit.
Finally, in concluding study of the Hanunos people in the Philippines, a kinship organization partner concentrated on daily life can be observed. Their basic social unit is the unclear family, but kinship relations do not merely confine to within the small family. Instead, they continuously expand through daily cooperation. Family members maintain close ties through joint labor, resource sharing, and care responsibilities. Children also participate in family labor at an early age, making the family a highly collaborative living community. In this case, kinship relations are not defined by strict systems but are formed through daily interaction.
Overall, the three cases discussed above respectively illustrate different types of kinship organization methods. The Lisu people have emphasized the flexible kinship practices influenced by living conditions. In contrast, Thai society exhibits a social structure centered around a hierarchical order and expressed through kinship language. The Hanunno people, on the other hand, exhibit a kinship pattern based on cooperative activities in daily life. A comparison of the three reveals that the kinship system in Southeast Asia does not have a single standard. Instead, it is highly diverse and dependent on specific social circumstances.
Among the list, Gilligan pointed out that the state's control over opium cultivation changed the local economy and livelihoods. However, it should be noted that this impact did not directly act up the kinship system itself.
More exactly, changes in how people make a living have influenced how families are formed and how people get married. So the main way this works is indirect influence.
When talking about tiny society, the given materials do not focus on direct control by the government. Instead, Thai society has a long-standing and clearly class order. This social ranking is based on people's age, social position, and moral standards, and is often shown through family relationship words. Therefore, Thailand's social system mainly forms from inside the society, not from outside influences.
Among the Hanno people, the stability of their community mainly depends on working together. In daily life, family members keep their social relationships by driving work, helping each other, and living together.
For the kind of community structure, it itself built up on continuous practice rather than relying on formal institutions or external power structure. This also implies that once the daily means of livelihood change, the stability of the community may be affected accordingly.
Overall, these three cases shows different types of the relationships between the community and the external structure. In the case of the Lisu ethnic group, external policies indirectly affect social organizations through changes in livelihood. In Thai society, the hierarchical order is mainly generated by internal cultural logic. And in the Hanano society, the community through daily practice, it is constantly maintained and reproduced. Therefore, community is not a fixed and closed unit, but a dynamic structure that is constantly being rebuilt in economic and social practice.
So, in summary, these cases of kinship systems in Southeast Asia collectively demonstrate that kinship is not merely a bloodline structure, but a social mechanism deeply intertwined with livelihood patterns, social order, and daily practice. They are highly flexible and constantly adjust and restructure in response to external environments and internal practice. Thank you all.